Alright guys, welcome back to WMMA Now with your host Chuck Stevenson, coming at you with a huge fight review. This one's going to be a little longer because it was a long fight, so hope you're ready for it. We're going to One Championship, a new era, Tokyo, Japan. 125-pound championship fight. Xiong the Panda Jingnan, 13-1, taking on the challenger, 115-pound champion, unstoppable Angela Lee. Before I get down into breaking down this fight, I want to talk about, this fight was actually a good example of why I like to watch fights twice before making my reviews. Because the first time I watched this fight, it was around 7:30, 8 a.m. and I was exhausted after being up most of the night, watching the entire event. So I rewatched it again, and upon the first viewing, I thought Lee was dominating almost the entire fight. And then I watched it again, and I was like, okay, this fight wasn't as one-sided before the ending as I thought it was. So let me get into it. Okay, so first round, Lee started putting the pressure on Xiong early. Xiong was trying to work her boxing and was finding the holes pretty easily. Lee got clinched up, got a takedown about 2 minutes in, but Xiong was able to create a scramble and get back to her feet. Xiong started working the boxing, and one thing I didn't notice that she had started it in the first round, but Xiong started taunting Lee throughout the fight. She started doing that little head nod that you'll notice Xiong Lee does a lot, and Xiong was also clapping her hands and waving her on. But Xiong, I thought, got better of the striking, although there was a lot of clinch work that I had Angela ahead after the first round. In the second round, Lee was moving forward. She was striking to apply pressure again and got into the clinch. Xiong Jingnan did better in the clinch this time. She was able to deny the takedowns at least once, I think maybe twice. And then Xiong actually started getting better of the exchanges at range again. Of course, I thought Lee was doing better in the clinch work, but Xiong definitely was the better fighter at range. And then in the third round, Lee immediately struck for a clinch and lands takedown about 50 seconds into the round. Xiong started working the high guard. She scrambled back to her feet, but immediately got taken down again by Lee, who immediately moved to side control, and then moved to the north-south. Xiong was able to get back to her feet, and then from that point on, Xiong completely just took over this round, started landing on Angela Lee like crazy, started throwing just about everything but the kitchen sink. I mean, second half of that round was all Xiong Jingnan, even with the dominant positions on the ground. I thought Xiong really took over by Lee. I thought Xiong just completely took over the second half of that round on the feet, finding shots to the head, shots to the body, and we'll get to more to the body shots later on. But shots to the head, shots to the body, started landing her kicks, just finding her way through Angela Lee's guard continually. So in the fourth round, Lee came out and struck through the clinch, landed a really nice straight right hand that stunned Xiong and allowed to get Angela to the clinch, and got trip takedown 15 seconds in. I mean, probably her fastest takedown of the fight. Xiong was able to use the high guard, worked back to the guard, but Lee backed up, stood up, and swept the legs to pass to side control. Xiong was working. She tried to escape out the back, but Lee caught her in a reverse triangle, which Xiong was trying to escape, but Angela then converted it into a reverse triangle with the armbar, is my best description of it. She had the armbar, but she also had Xiong's head trapped in her legs. Xiong was working hard to escape, You know, she kept trying to walk her feet up the cage, turn it over, and that actually allowed Lee to move it to belly down. And I mean, Angela Lee just started pouring on the pressure in this. She was doing everything she could to get this submission in the fourth round. She was working. She was hammer fisting Xiong's head. When she got it to belly down, she was just squeezing with all her, applying pressure on that arm with all of her might. Xiong, though, was down there. She kept giving the ref thumbs up, saying, I'm okay, because she was face down as well. And that's how the round ended. And Xiong was in that position, stuck in that, fighting that, fending off that submission for like at least 2 minutes of the fourth round. But the way they both got up, guys, this spelled, told me a lot about how this fight was going to end. The bell ended. Xiong got up and walked straight back to her corner like a boss, like as if it was just another day at work. Lee got up, and you could see her face for a split second, and she just had this look on her face like, wow, like, what, how? Like, how did she survive that? And to me, I saw that. I saw that the first time I watched the fight, and I just thought, holy crap, this could be the moment that the momentum turns. Because upon the first viewing, I thought Lee was dominating pretty much the entire fight, except for a few exchanges. But I saw that, and I thought, this could be the momentum changer. So fifth round, Xiong comes out, and she's the aggressor this time. Lee is looking visibly tired. Xiong came forward, and she was backing up Lee with each of the striking exchanges. Xiong threw a body kick, and it hurt Lee. You could see her get visibly hurt. She kind of backed off a little bit, but then she started throwing more punches that visibly hurt Angela Lee. She almost wilted, like you saw, like her knees give out a little bit. But Lee managed to recover and circle out more. So then Xiong started working her boxing more, and she was mixing punches to the body, to the head, body, head, and also using her kicks, using push kicks and kicks to the body to just really wear Lee down, and was able to use those kicks to also control the distance so that she could keep working her striking from boxing range and kickboxing range. At one point during those exchanges, Xiong landed a body shot, and it was super obvious that Lee was hurt, and Xiong just poured it on, started landing more punches, and then a pair of body kicks. I mean, just like Lee crumpled over at one point, and Xiong just landed 2 straight body kicks that just completely turned the tide. I mean, the tide was already turned, but Xiong landed those 2 kicks to the stomach of Lee, and that was it. That was like, you knew right then that was it, because Lee turned away, and causing the referee to intervene and stop the fight, giving Xiong Jingnan the win via TKO at 1 minute and 37 seconds of round number 5. Wow, it was a very good fight, probably the best ladies fight of the entire weekend. And it just goes to show you that, you might think a fighter is down, but that doesn't mean they're out. So things to work on. I'll start with Lee. No, you know what? I'll start with Xiong, even though I usually start with the loser first, but I'm going to go hard in the paint on Lee. So I'll start with Xiong first. Xiong, I thought, did very well with her striking. Nothing to complain about there. I do think that she needs to continue working on the clinch. It seemed like Lee was generally the stronger fighter in the clinch. So I think Xiong can work on that more, especially fighting off clinch takedowns. Now, she didn't get taken down by every one of Lee's takedown attempts in the clinch, but every time she was taken down, it was from the clinch. Other than that, I thought Xiong did very well. Also, maybe work on submission defense and work on working off of your back. because, I mean, granted, she was against, a very excellent ground fighter in Lee, but that's just something that she needs to go back and work on some more. As a fighter, you always want to make these incremental improvements. You don't want to get lazy. As for Lee, okay, first off, head movement. I said in my preview to the fight leading up here, let me take out my notes here real quick. Let me see. Where's it at? Sorry, guys. So I said that one of the keys to victory for Xiong was to look for the holes in Lee's striking guard because they are there. And they were there. I mean, Lee was just getting tagged by these punches. And if she had better head movement, she'd have been able to avoid them. I mean, she's kind of lucky in that she can absorb some shots. Because Xiong was throwing some hard shots at her head. And Lee is kind of gifted in that she has a big head. And it really allows her to absorb them a lot better. But she needs to work on her head movement and all around general, avoiding of shots. Because, I mean, it was apparent going into this fight, having watched her previous fights. And it was on display here as well. Another thing Lee needs to work on is, when you're going for a submission and you're not getting it, go back a step. Try to figure out why isn't that submission working? If she'd have put her hips a little more into it, she might have gotten a tap on that armbar. But as it was, I just thought that, she seems to go really, once she seems to commit to these submissions, and then she doesn't give up once she gets it. Even if there's something she could be doing better, it's something she doesn't want to give up going for it. She just wants to go full out for it. There was an earlier fight, I think it was the second fight after she had gotten her win by twister. She tried to go for the twister again and wasn't able to get it because she didn't make the necessary adjustments in order to improve on the submission. Had she done that, she could have done better. Also, I just think that Lee needs to work on her overall boxing and footwork more. I mean, she has the necessary tools to get the fight to the ground where she wants to be. But eventually you're going to run into someone like Xiong who started, resisting those clinch takedowns. And you're going to have to find other ways. You're going to have to be able to fight better on the feet. And also she needs to start varying her takedowns. It's kind of like when I said, Michelle Waterson has one takedown. Angela Lee has maybe a couple more, but they're all in a clinch. If she actually learned how to throw a proper double or single leg, she'd be way more effective at getting the fight to the ground than she already is. As far as fights to make, it's hard to say. Lee probably go back down to 115 if she can make the weight again. She honestly looked like the bigger fighter in there. She kind of looked like the bigger fighter at the press conference face-offs, and then she came out and in the ring, she looked like the bigger fighter. She was the one being advertised as moving up a weight class, but she looked like the bigger fighter. So she might truly have trouble getting back down to 115, and that's another strike on the whole idea of one championship having solved weight cutting, because I don't see how if Xiong Jingnan is either that small of a 125-pounder, or Angela Lee was dehydrating to get down there. So as far as fights to make, I think Lee goes back down to 155. In the post-fight press conference, Chaudhry talked about, the ONE FC CEO talked about Xiong possibly going down to 115. And I don't think she'd have a hard time making it. Other than that, it's very hard to tell, because I don't think one championship has anyone else for Xiong to face right now. They'll have to bring in someone new. which they've been doing for her. Angela Lee doesn't have anyone else to face down there, unless May Yamaguchi wins another couple fights and gets that trilogy fight, which at this point is just pointless. Anyway, guys, that's what I have about this. I thought it was an excellent fight. Excellent. A lot closer upon the second viewing than when I watched it the first time. Let me know what you guys thought about the fight, and please give me your opinions on this video in the comments down below. Thumbs ups are always appreciated. And if you want to donate to the channel, you can. My PayPal's down below. I won't ask you to, but if you feel like it and you truly enjoy the channel, please be my guest. I'll use it to buy a better webcam or something. That's any funds I receive are going to go back into the channel. I've already bought some equipment, so that'll pay off that. And also, what are you waiting for, guys? Subscribe to WMMA now, the best, fastest growing women's mixed martial arts platform on YouTube. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.